Good afternoon, everybody. What's going on? My name is Bill Island, here at the Historical Society. Just a little background information about this program. It was first presented about 7 years ago. A little bit like since then, there's been some updates and changes to our website itself. So that's why I thought this would be another planning program for the updates and just to I'm not happy to anybody here that's new to that, they're around and know where it is, they're not. The historical society doesn't not have any we've done research on this. The reason whatever happens we have no control over this area of town where it gets my personal opinion is that it was my family. Cemetery. I'm sure people are very happy about this on that. At the moment, they have no clue where they are. So that's the interest behind we kind of know the thing about it. So otherwise, the town had no idea the cemetery. We made them aware of it. And according to general laws. Abandoned cemeteries found, the town has a responsibility to review. Market, the only problem is where that is by deal. So that complicates things a bit. So,
So, how did you or the Historical Society find out about it before the town?
I'll get into that.
You're going to okay, great.
The whole history of this, I think you'll agree after you see it that it's a terrible thing happened. It's not a year.
Is that what history?
I'm sorry? No, that's another private cemetery. The Goodrich family buried there, but it's private, but the town owns that. At some point, the town took that land over, so it's a town cemetery. This is on off of West Street. You go all the way to the end of West Street towards Fishburg Way, west. And it's a street called West Street Terrace, and that's what's up behind there. All right, let me start. So, the other thing I'm talking about, one thing that the individual that did most of the research on this program initially, his name was Jim Barton, and he was a former curator of the Historical Society. Unfortunately, he passed away a few months ago, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this, is sort of in his memory. He devoted, he knew about the cemetery long before anybody did. So he's the one that did the majority of the research in it. So when I'm going along here and I mention, I say I'm referring to him, not me. So, I've known about the misplaced gravestones for many years. And it's an honor for me to present you what I've learned about these 7 nearly forgotten souls being memorialized. I first heard about these gravestones way back in the 1940s. That's my dad, Robert J. Larkin, in his World War II era victory garden. He used to gather us kids around to tell us stories, to tell his stories, and I can clearly remember him describing gravestones he encountered on one of his early exploratory walks. He pointed towards the stone wall, which bordered the field we're looking at. Left to right is south to north. The graves are just over the hill, unseen in the photo, on the south side, on the south side of the photo, the left side. So that'll be up in this area. My dad told a story about the stones is clear in my mind, but I soon forgot about them, and that was that, until July of 2002. When I first met with the late Jeanette and Albert Nafone of 790 West Street, Lunenburg, they were doing some yard work. He flipped over some stone slabs on the property. Once flipped over, the stones with their epitaphs intact were recognized as gravestones. That's bizarre in itself.
Yeah.
That's where the house is referring to, and this area here is where they found probably in that area. Just the fact that someone would make a sidewalk with gravestones is. Four stones were all unearthed. After a period of approximately 2 years, I learned 2 of the rediscovered stones, Thomas and Nancy Arnold, were given away to a contractor whose identity is unknown. The 2 stones' whereabouts are not known. That left one original stone which was in 2 pieces. It's one stone, this is the top, this is the bottom. This is a stone from Ebenezer Litch, and he's not a cedar. Continual God cedar. It's now repaired and remounted by the Lunenburg Historical Commission at the site of the original Thomas Arnold private yard next to 44 West Street Terrace, Lunenburg. Additionally, a small unmarked marble slab was unearthed, which might be a footstone. This is the footnote here. That memorial is no longer up there, removed. I'll get into why it was removed. After the stone rediscovery, the first record of the Arnold Litch burials was easily discovered on the internet. It was included in a book called Proceedings of the Fitchburg Historical Society, published in 1904. Originally, it had been created in 1878 by Lunenburg resident Edwin H. Marshall and contained descriptions of all the gravestones in Lunenburg. Well, those are the 7, well, 5, that was, I believe the 7 people buried there. That's maybe missing a couple of people. The 7 also.
It's 2 on the last, 2 on the last.
Oh, okay.
And there's 2 on the 6. Yeah. It's 7.
The first one being in 1843, and the last one in 1866. So we say the town knew about it, and actually in 1898, but nothing was ever done about it. It was still private property, and there were a lot of private burial yards around. People didn't always get buried in the cemetery, in the town cemetery. So the town knew about it, but 1898 is a long time ago. Years and years and years, it's just people forgot about it. There's a reason they forgot about it. See. The old records define who the gravestone memorialized, but where was the plot located? For that answer, the 1869 property deed was located. On that 1869 deed was reference to a right of access to a small patch of ground used as a burial ground. This is the deed from 1869. And that's the line. It's actually in the deed. Reserving the right to occupy the burial ground, but for no other purpose, a certain small piece of ground on the north side of the land, now set as a burial ground. Reserving also the right to pass and repass it from the same wild use or said purpose for no longer. It basically means it's not a cemetery anymore, but it's still in the deed as a right of way, basically. This is a drawing that Mr. Larkin put together using a formula, using measurements that were enumerated in the deed. There's a software program that you can plot out. If you have it measured, you can plot out what the plot looks like, actually what the land looks like. But this is an 1869 lot. Place the flag burial ground at the north end of the deed lot. We're looking at the 10-acre open field described in 1869, with the only building being Thomas and Nancy Arnold's house, which might not be the same house standing there now. So if you try to, if you've never been up West Street Terrace, you might not know, but this is West Street comes like this, and it comes with a dead end. And roughly around here is a road called West Street Terrace. It's a new development. It's not a cul-de-sac, but it winds around and ends up coming back out West Street. And the house is referred to here, that was their house. But that's not the house that they're now. Today, in 2021, it has the address of 806 West Street, and it's the residence of Wayne and Kathy Como. Maybe some of you have seen that house before on West Street. The beautiful house, but it's not the original. It's not the original Arnold house. These are 1869 boundary lines superimposed over homes and properties existing today, 2021, on West Street Terrace. The burial place where the remains of 7 persons and children is buried. But that's a development, pretty much a development here. As I mentioned, that's West Street Terrace, and goes around to West Acre Drive, and comes back out of West Street. So this was the original plot of the Arnold farm. This is where the great burial ground was. And Mr. Larkin's house, what we're talking about, was that up in this area. The burial place is now identified by a beautifully mounted bronze plaque listing all 7 burials alongside the stored Litch gravestone, which were prepared and installed by the Bloomberg Historical Commission and leave activity in Bloomberg. So like I mentioned before, that was mounted on a stone. It was mounted where we thought we had kind of surmised where the graves were. We thought that was our best guess. So that's where it was mounted. It has since been removed because we got a little more later. We found that actually the graves are. So that's why it was removed, if anybody was wondering. Now we're going to get back to the history of why everyone forgot about this. This is going to be called the first loss. Back in 1906, there was an earlier uprooting of the Arnold gravestones as recorded in Grandma Lowe's personal diary. During research, the Lowe diary of 1897 to 1907 was described at the Historical Society. Grandma Whipple Lowe wrote about the first incident of the gravestone's removal in her diary. You can read that out. Basically, she was at a neighbor's house in 1906. She saw someone backing up a horse and wagon to the little old cemetery, It's been there nearly a century. And both of the old tombstones into a wagon all along. They drove right over the graves. It seemed so sad and so heartless to me. When I went even further, it said, when they get it all cleaned up, it would make a nice little place for children. That's a strange story. The Lowe family resided, is still standing, 111 Pratt Street, Lunenburg. If you've gone down Pratt Street, you probably recognize that house. It's a very nice house. It's got an iron. Back then, it was a 50-acre farm called Low Crop. She had been visiting her friend and property owner, Mary Ziliakis, and in May 1906 entry, Mrs. Lowe was obviously upset in recording that she had witnessed the removal of the gravestones and saw them being hauled away in the horseman cart. She even entered in her diary that she had lost some sleep after witnessing such a sad event. But just 3 months later, there was another diary entry indicating people that were up from Chicago to investigate the cemeteries and would probably get it fixed up. We were able to verify by a 1917 document record that indeed the stones were put back in place. So that was the first removal and replacement.
Did you find out, did they put the original stones back or new stones?
Put the original ball back.
Okay.
We should have been left it too, but they did it again. The 1917 document I mentioned was a handwritten account by former Lunenburg historian James Litchfield, who visited the site and gave a full accounting and verification of stones were in fact in place during his visit. So that echoes the same list as I'm sure you were first. It's the same list. It's 1917, so 1888. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm just going to move on. You can see some of the, actually, we wrote down some of the epitaphs here. This one here says, "Farewell, dear Father. She rests in heaven." In the late 1940s, Lunenburg began to grow, and developers were looking for new places to build. The second loss of the stones apparently took place in 1948. This is an article in the, I don't think it was the first settle, but it was some local newspaper. It's describing how Lunenburg was going after the war was over. The property owner and developer built the house at 790 West Street, the house I referred to earlier, and lived there for a number of years. It's the same house in the yard where Mr. and Mrs. Nopone discovered that we were in gravestone in 2002.
Who was the one?
Yeah. He shall, I know who it is, but he'll remain nameless. I have feeling around, but this slide shows a page from George A. Cunningham's History of Lunenburg. Ebenezer, a farmer, was the oldest of 11 children of Samuel and Polly Litch. They were all born and grew up in this 1805 house, still standing at 203 Pleasant Street. In 1829, Ebenezer built a house nearby, which eventually became the Arnold Farm. If anybody is familiar with Pleasant Street, this is looking, that's the house of Steve Bedford. There's a farm out here, and that's the house across the street from the front. It was a great old picture. This is, it shows that house and that house. So This map here might not be familiar to too many people, but unfortunately to Ian and I, it's very familiar. It's called the 1833 Kilburn Map. In 1833, Cyrus Kilburn mapped every single standing structure in town. And he gave it a number. So it's kind of confusing what it's written about flooding. Not to confuse it. The orange one is where Ebenezer grew up. Blue, blue circling on 212. So we're married to the Arnold in 1833. And green is the 215 house that I showed you about. This is Steve Edwards' house and that one across the street. But this is the area where the cemetery is.
And is that cross on the map?
Yeah.
Or did you add it? Oh.
The Ebenezer Litch family left Lunenburg in 1837 and moved to Ashburnham. It was in Ashburnham that Ebenezer died of consumption, because back then, that's what was called, was actually tuberculosis. His 3 young daughters also died while they were living in Ashburnham. Lydia Arnold, Litch, the mother, survived until she was 80. She had lived 2 husbands and married a third. Her remains are in the Florida Park Cemetery, where Mass. Moved there from Greenwich, Mass, for the construction of the Florida Reservoir. The first burial in 1943 was Elizabeth Ann Arnold Eston at the age of 35. Her father, the most famous person interred there in that burial ground. She was the first burial there, but her gravestone is among the missing, one of the ones that was used for the sidewalk. It's possible that it still could be buried here, but again, it's private property, so we can't really go there with shovels, that's big. Elizabeth Ann Molden was a circuit rider. She rode by horse or buggy from one Massachusetts rural community to another, preaching on behalf of the Methodist Episcopal Church. Her surviving husband, Reverend Horace Molden, published a book about her in 1845, 2 years after her death. It consisted of her letters, journals, and diaries. We have a copy of the book at the Historical Society. It's also easily found on the internet. It's for sale on Amazon. If you Google Young Pastor's Wife, you can read it online. It's quite a reading. It takes some time to do it. That's you go on the Amazon. That's how you find it. As I mentioned, the book is easily found on the internet. It's relatively well known and available for free online at purchase. One reviewer said, "This work has been selected by scholars as being culturally important, and it's part of the knowledge base of civilization as we know it." One passage in the book describes Elizabeth Ann by one official as the greatest female orator he had ever heard address an audience. In the 1830s, ever America was very unusual at that time for a woman to take such a leadership position. So now we're going to move on to the new chapter here. About 3 years ago, a firm was contracted by the town of Lunenburg to do a ground radar search in the area suspected to be the family burial yard. This device resembles a lawnmower that has capabilities to send radar waves into the ground, and when these waves are returned to the device, it shows this type of image. There's a distinct difference between undisturbed ground and ground that has been dug for grade. This is just a image of what the machine looks like. So, this image shows quite clearly the difference. The images in red are the areas that contain variables. We're talking about there. And it only shows like 6, but sometimes roots get away, but they're fairly certain that they found all 7 of them. But you can tell that as they go on further, when once they did this grave site, they went over to the one on Goodrich, the Goodrich one over on Fish Street and Lincoln Street. And they surveyed that also. And when you take that machine over a known grave, you know someone buried there, you'll see a distinct image of what it looks like. So that's like a starting point or a gradient, so you can tell what you're looking for. But they all look like that when you Google any kind of ground radar or burial grounds. That's what they all look like. So it's pretty evident that anything disturbed like that, it shows up. So this is the area of the cemetery that the burials are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 stones. I'm sorry, 6 shells. I think it's a 7, but that's where the burials are. And this, and one of the first slides I showed you, actually the very first slide of the program, I showed you the burial ground. This is basically the back end of it. And back here is the stone wall. That's where the burials are.
And those gravestones are talking about someone. Yeah, most of it doesn't.
What's that?
Those flat stones,
It does look like that, yeah. We scoured that area for many times before the radar was on trying to find anything that resembled a headstone, but we weren't able to find it. So this is one of the reports that came out. Behind this burial yard, a total of 6 anomalies were discovered that indicate the presence of unmarked graves. Apparently there were 7 burials, but there was no indication of a 7th burial. Many times in wooded areas like this, the radar reflections of the grave anomalies are sometimes masked by surrounding tree roots and rocks. However, the grave discoveries were of good interpretive quality, depth between 3 to 4 feet. 3 snow discs along with 3 flags were placed on the ground, marking the centermost position of the grave. So this is the other cemetery referred to on the corner of Fish Street. Let's see, there's only one headstone that's complete. That's the wife of Levi Goodrich. Levi's gravestone was there. That's his wife. And the partial was broken. There are plans in progress right now to get some more headstones and try to replace the ones that were broken. These weren't removed, they just broke. They just broke over the years. And also during that ground radar search, they discovered approximately 7 more burials along the stone wall. And those were mostly children, 2 or 3 years old. Trouble had influenza or things like that, some sort of fever or something like that. That made children die. So this is what I say one of this program is like I said, I spent a lot of time on this program. So as I mentioned before, where it stands right now is the land is privately owned. And until such time as the town can acquire it, whether it's by eminent domain or whether the property owner wishes to sell it, there really isn't anything the town can do, it's private land. But I know that they're working on it. Obviously, we're very about other issues in cemeteries right now. But it's still going to keep haunting hauntings out there. I think it's important that, like I said, that was my family, I want some sort of a memorial there. Everybody says that. Well, that's it. If there's any other questions, I can try to answer them if you want.
Bill, do we know from those maps or documents that there are other, I mean, there must be
Course there
other.
are.
Damn.
Nothing I'm aware of. I'm aware of, because if they had been, it would have been noted
Yeah,
that
in
those
the
areas
documents.
for this year.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree, probably, probably.
Right,
But people, a lot of people can report it, so.
right. Yeah.
But I don't know whether, Mr. Larkin did this before he passed, but he was going to enter the information onto that site called Piney Grave.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Even though there's not a memorial there now, at least there'll be something. If someone searches for it, there is a witch. It won't come up with nothing yet. There'll be something there.
Right.
So that hasn't been done. I'm not sure it's done. You can submit pictures, or just submit pictures or whatever. And, you can put a note on there that it's work in progress. It's definitely something we have to do. It should be treated like it is.
The other thing that we don't know anything about is people of color who certainly were in Bloomberg and certainly died. And we have records of copies being made, but we don't know where they are. There's absolutely
A lot of times we've been through Union Cemetery, south and north, you'll see some grave sites that have granite curving around.
Yeah.
There's some in the middle. A lot of times the slave owners, they would bury their slaves on the outside of that.
right.
No marking, it was buried.
Or even just outside the boundary of the cemetery in other towns.
Right.
People were very just outside the boundaries.
That's why the South Cemetery right now, I used to be on the cemetery commission. And some large expanses of land there that it looks, it's probably only maybe 20 to 30 more grave sites available in the South Cemetery. It's not that bad. But if you look, a certain area had a wide area of open space. The problem is you don't know what's there. You just can't assume there's nothing there.
Right.
So, well, I might be able to put 50 headstones, you 50 burials there, you just can't assume there's nothing there.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are not graves, there were fathers that didn't have any money.
Or people who were
Town
born
took them
in
buried them, they didn't have any money. Thanks again. Hopefully you don't have nightmares.